Welcome back to the Reptiles With Podcast. Woo. Before we get started, I have something for our friends.
Know what the fuck he's gonna do. Oh my god.
What do you think?
Wait,
no. What do you think he's gonna do?
I'm gonna spoil it if I say what it is.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say
what it is.
Yoshi's most expensive gift.
It was. Hold up, let me see who's first. All right, you open it first. Don't show it to him.
Don't show it to who?
Don't show it to Eddie.
I won't look. Let me take a drink.
Yo, I love that.
All right,
That is fucking awesome.
Eddie.
All right. I won't even look
There
at
you
Ron's.
go. Every Thursday that this motherfucker comes over to work for me, I'm gonna be wearing that.
Dude, that's great.
That is good.
The black and white, bro. That's fucking genius.
The inside joke that went beyond the inside
that-
joke.
Look, check this out. Look, here.
That whole
fucking
serial
genius.
killer
Look at that.
vibe.
Bro,
The local legend, Eddie Soto. All right,
It's podcast time!
you're so disgusting.
was it here that we started calling you that? Was it the first time that you came on the podcast?
So what happened was, I remember, you wanted to do a separate podcast.
Okay.
Like a sister podcast where it was me and Ron and you. And you were like, he's fucking dead serious, by the way. Not under the influence of anything. And he said, all right, so I want to call it The Local Legends of Florida. And he was so serious. And then afterwards I said, Yoshii, come on. We can't. That's terrible. That's a dumb name.
I could have sworn, did we not call him a local legend the first time he came on the podcast?
I think we did.
Because I think I was like, you're kind of like a local legend.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
something of the sort. And then, so
You
people...
already had it in your mind.
Yeah.
Dude, I got random people that I don't even know.
Dude, it was... So the...
Comment on his Facebook page.
No, this is the thing. After that podcast came out, I had done a Repticon. And I went to go talk to Eddie, and people were coming up to me and Eddie and calling him a local legend. I swear to God. And then it took over Facebook, so hey, we got the local
random
legend.
people walking up to me.
That's fire.
Oh, and I
How
guess
you feel,
also
bro?
Ron St Pierre's here.
Oh, we also got this guy.
That guy.
That guy. He's done nothing.
You know, from the shirt, I'm like, the only thing missing is the date. I'm like, this guy died. It's in black and white. It's his face with a tortoise. I'm like,
Dude,
oh, man.
so
It actually looks like that.
Yeah.
It does look like that.
Yo, just know for your funeral we're all wearing one of those.
Like on the back, it should say never forget or
It's not
something.
even that. Listen. We're gonna wear it, and you're gonna wear it all the way to the whole motherfucker.
dude,
My kids will see this and they're gonna laugh. 'Cause
so
they laugh at this.
dude, so I literally was dying when this guy was printing it. The guy had no idea. I felt bad because I'm like, yo, this guy probably thinks I'm laughing at him. Every time that he would show me like the mock-up of how it would look on the shirt, dude, I was almost crying on the floor at this fucking mall. Dude, it was crazy.
It's my new favorite shirt.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
All right, how are we doing on this Sunday?
Did you make one for Alex?
No.
Alex really needs one.
I promise I'll make you one, but I'm gonna find another way to make it cheaper. These things were fucking expensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I'll hit.
The inside joke just went beyond.
Yeah.
That he's just like, I
It
don't
was
care.
special. Look, I was there. I was ready. The guy was like, it's going to cost blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'll fucking do it.
For the boys.
I was like, I just paid my house. Oh, man.
Wow, okay.
Well, that's the beginning.
Icebreaker. A good icebreaker.
There's nothing better than the smell of coffee in the morning, okay? There's also nothing better than the smell of reptiles in the morning. Psych. Reptiles with coffee. That's the smell you want. The strongest coffee, all right? We have it for you. Head on over to the description or go to coldbloodedcaffeine.com and use the code REPTILESWITH to get your Reptiles with coffee today. So we just finished recording another podcast with the guy from Animals at Home, Dylan.
Yes.
We spoke about your whole KFC thing.
We did.
You want to summarize that whole
Yeah,
situation?
basically how the reptile hobby needs to do better, how we can regulate ourselves, how we should be regulating ourselves, or else the legislation will. He has a really great mindset. He thinks that despite all the sins of the hobby, that there are aspects to the hobby that are worth saving. You know, right here we have two exemplary individuals who. Maybe
Ron and I?
No.
I've done nothing.
Who have done like a lot of work with reptiles, are very knowledgeable in this industry, and who could easily be at the forefront of any conservation reintegration projects. You know,
No.
they do great stuff outside in outdoor enclosures with a lot of different species. They really could do a lot. You know, and it sucks that for the most part, either because conservation organizations don't want to participate or work with reptile hobbyists, which understandable. or because some people just lack the passion. They just don't care about the animals enough to really want to go that extra mile for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks. I know Eddie works with pancake tortoises, or did.
I did.
Which was cool.
I did.
But who's working with what SSP is there for pancake tortoises outside of
The fuck is an
facility?
SSP?
Species survival programs.
Oh,
it's cool
shit,
because
tight.
when that opportunity was offered to me, when I asked how many, the TSA's reply was, "How many do you want?"
Yeah.
And I felt, since I was still a nobody in this world, I felt terrible asking for even like I think I got.
It was like I had 200.
At the time, at the time I said 10. I wanted to be generous, 10.
Yeah.
And they said, and immediately, okay.
Damn. I would have been like, all? Question mark?
What happened?
Well, I had to sign paperwork. Everything was microchipped. Everything was documented. You go with the mindset that these animals still belong to the TSA. You're just like a guardian.
Yeah.
So basically, at any time, which really never happens, they can ask for it back.
Yeah.
It will never happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
But still, like, it was with the mindset like, hey, some of these animals will be dead, because these things came in really bad. This was probably 2012, and they gave me pictures of how these things were even brought into the country.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. It was like socks shoved in slots, and it was meant to look like a bookcase that was brought into the country. It was like over a couple hundred pancakes that were brought into the country at a time.
Horrible.
They were brought into a certain zoo, which I have a friend at. And he was the one who offered me the opportunity, and I was already a member of TSA.
Yeah.
I actually ended up giving those animals back because I wanted them to go to someone who was actually breeding them and doing well with them.
Yeah.
But when you have an animal like that, I always feel like it's so fragile and it's this responsibility.
But there was no line, like there was no point where the TSA was like, hey, if you breed babies individuals, we want them back.
Yeah. Well, I also have the Chinese boxers, and it was the same situation with those two. And they're never gonna take those animals back. There's so much
it's unfortunate.
red tape.
It's a big just in case.
Yeah.
It's a huge just in case. Like, we own them. You do whatever the fuck you want. If shit goes south, they can just pull.
But legally, it's like if you breed them, then half you keep, half goes to them.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, they never ask.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
So
I heard you also got a new cool turtle.
That's
I did.
right.
I did. I got a yellow belly slider. Very rare. It was crashing the street. It's a baby. I went to PetSmart. They're like, hey, yeah, keep it. And I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, my dream pet. 20
Leather
years.
bag.
You only got one.
I only got one. One yellow belly. No, I got a fly river, which was a species that I've always wanted.
Yeah.
That's
Like one of those
so
bucket
cool.
list species. So
How big was it? It was like
Average?
It was supposed to be 4 inches.
Average.
That depends on
oh
the
my
one.
god.
But it was 4 inches, but this thing was pretty big.
Okay.
Dumb.
It's going through the. Why are you laughing, Alex? It's right now I have it in quarantine, so it's in a
Tub?
smaller.
It's in a
no,
rack.
No,
It's in a rack.
Yeah, it's in a rack. Yeah, it's with the ball python. There's a Mojave. There's a blue-eyed, cystic. No, it's in a 20-gallon high. Honestly, bare minimum, because I wanted to. Because these things are obviously there's no one captive breeding. These are all wild caught animals. I wanted to make sure it's eating. I want to medicate it. It does come with some fungal issues.
Of course.
Because this animal is in captivity now, but it's probably been in human hands for probably 2 months or so already. So they come in kind of roughed up. So.
Yeah.
But I've also dealt with the fish world, so I'm prepared for medication and all that stuff. So.
What's your
like
plan,
great.
like long term? Like what kind of setup you thinking?
I would love me being. I
Give
would
it
love
back
to
to
have
the
it
TSA.
indoors and all that, but I would never do that. I do want
me being a local legend.
I was saying me being selfish. I wanted a giant aquarium in my house, but no. The end goal is when it's full size to be in an outdoor, a giant pen by itself. So that's the goal.
That's cool.
That's a dope ass.
And it's already like tongue feeding like strawberries and
that's so
wafers
cool.
from me. It's
Wafers?
Don't they
algae wafers.
Oh, okay.
don't they lay
vegetarian, right?
eggs underwater or some shit?
So
Yeah.
this is one of the things why they'll never actually be bred in captivity. And the only people who are farming them, they just bought property where they're from
kicked them
and just we bred them. But they do need a drought.
And the eggs go into the water.
So no, it floods. Massive torrential downpour
then they wake
where
up.
the nests actually flood
Flood
out.
out.
And then that triggers the animal to hatch. So even though they're fully
Yes.
developed, they'll stay in dormancy until the floods. That's why you ever see those those videos on Facebook where they hatch in water.
Yeah.
That's why that triggers them right just to start hatching.
Wow.
And it's the only turtle in the world, freshwater, that has flippers.
That's so fucking cool.
No, it's a cool animal.
Why wouldn't that be possible in captivity though?
You would have to go through so much for such a little return.
Science, dude.
But
you're a legend.
As a,
it's like
You're on a
Jesus.
t-shirt,
Bro,
man.
it's like looking at Jesus and go walk on water, and then he don't.
yeah, that's true.
No, bro.
And people who
it's
question
doable.
me, like, hey, bitch, are you on a t-shirt? I am.
Yeah. Your own t-shirt.
No, but in order, like, I know you hate the industry, but in order for it to work in the industry, it would have to be profitable. And right now, to those people, it's more profitable to farm,
Quote unquote.
than to captive breed.
Okay.
I mean, that's not
fair.
necessarily true.
You would have to have the P word, and I don't like the P word.
No. I agree with the profit. I mean, honestly, if you're doing this for a living, you're a professional herpetoculturist like I am. There is a monetary consideration, but I mean, if they're $1,000 a piece captive bred, I mean, how hard could it be to raise and lower the water? There's pumps for that.
That's
you
true.
Can drain it and then reflood it by pumping it back in.
The only thing with that species is even the people who live there, I don't think they even know that much about this species.
Yeah, for sure.
No, and that's
Yeah.
probably a big part
Because you
of
just
the
throw it in
problem.
there.
Well, I was gonna say, how easy do those things get fungal issues?
A lot.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Because they're spending the majority of their time in the water.
So this is for fish people. They need a higher pH,
That's
and people don't do that. They just give them gravel
Yeah.
and water, tap water. That it needs to be a higher pH, a limestone type situation. I used to breed a lot of African cichlids, like I said, and so I have all that stuff that can raise that pH. I have all that limestone and stuff to help that. When you keep it in tap water and mud, you're keeping it too acidic, like an angel, like South American fish, discus, neon tetras. That's all acidic. It's all like
They need tannin water.
tannins. That's what I was going to go for. Tannins. Whereas higher pH stuff is more like ocean, but not ocean. It's freshwater, and that's where you start getting the fungal issues of those animals. So
it's like brackish, you're saying?
not brackish, but
the pH is
the pH is
salinity.
just so like
Yeah.
Florida has hard water, which is higher pH,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
But in a long-term setting with tap water, even if you're dechlorinating it, it's going to be a lower pH or standard
For sure.
pH. It needs to be higher.
Yeah.
That's where people are going wrong.
Interesting.
So right now I have that cichlid sand that naturally raises the water. But again, it's in a quarantine setup, so it's controlled. It does have that high pH, but it's very small because I want it to eat. I want it to medicate it, and then once it's good to go, no scarring, no fungal, then it will go into something bigger.
Do you think the pH takes out, like, will kill the fungus itself? Just
The high
by changing
pH?
it? Yeah.
Depends
That's
on
going to
the
help
fungus,
because
probably.
people are keeping that species regular with medication. I'm keeping it higher pH with medication. So I think that mine will probably have a better recovery.
Okay.
Yoshii
I mean, it's
and
already
Eric are
eating.
very
It's already doing.
Yeah.
It's already doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Conception and I went to a zoo in South Carolina, south of the border,
That's not a
and
zoo.
their fly,
not a
their,
zoo.
all right, that thing, their fly river was in green water,
Green doesn't mean bad though.
buddy.
That is true.
That shit was nasty.
It's an eyesore, but it doesn't really mean bad.
Yeah.
For a reptile, that is.
I mean,
Yeah, go drink it, Eddie.
I'm not gonna drink it, but these animals want.
Yeah.
They want security. They want to.
Yeah.
If the entire world of freshwater and saltwater was crystal clear,
Animals will
all these
freak.
animals would freak out, regardless if they get eaten or not. They're gonna feel insecure. They're gonna feel vulnerable, and
Is
they're
that
just
what
gonna
we need?
fail.
Maybe.
Tannins.
So we need, yeah.
You need tan.
we need tannins, bro.
We need a tan,
You
dude.
need shit water, Chuck.
Yeah.
Is that like it's like tea?
But that's also like crocodilians use that to their advantage too,
Yeah.
because they can ambush.
You don't want
Yeah.
crystal clear water.
Yeah.
It's not natural.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain places of oceans and rivers and all that have crystal water, but
like
it's
springs
like
and
give
shit.
them Mata Mata crystal clear water. See what happens.
Gonna be fucked.
Let's find out.
No
Gosh,
fuck,
no.
dude.
So, our homie here to the left of me has invested heavily in fucking emerald tree boas.
Chuck, really?
Yeah.
Hey, not
Yeah.
Who you got, Chuck?
I got Zato.
So I want to know.
Oh.
I want to know Why?
You're not going to get a full answer to that one right now.
Yeah, because like ball pythons are so much better.
Yeah,
Why would
for
you
real.
get emerald
That's why I'm
tree
looking
balls?
at you like that's a fire ass thing. You
My
make ball
thing-
pythons, but you
so
don't
this is the
question
thing.
it. You don't question you,
Here's the
bro.
thing. When you posted the picture of it outside, my first thought was like, damn, it's not too hot up here for that.
Nope.
No.
So I'm going to tell you
Do you know
part
where
of
they
the
come
reason,
from?
but
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
telling you. I'm not going to give away everything yet.
Dun dun.
So not for any reason.
Yeah.
I didn't need to heavily test. I don't start talking about shit until I
Yeah.
really test it out, prove that my theories are correct. But 10 years ago, I started working on these giant anoles that I kind of have pioneered, at least the commercial production of them. And they had a lot of problems in the beginning, and I noticed that all the problems were correlated, the same exact problems they see in chondros, emerald tree boas. These guys had all the same thing: prolapsing, infertility, shedding issues. Everything was there. But I've never been one to really give up, so I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this shit out. And it took me a decade, full 10 years. And then I was sitting in a Culver's with Casey Cannon talking about shit, and it clicked. So I defeated each problem over the last 10 years. Every couple of years, I would knock something else out. I finally got them this year to where they're 100% burning it. They're just perfect. I'm not getting any more infertiles. They always look good. And I had to change a lot of things, but it basically revolved around an entire system that I have designed that's kind of complicated. But what it does is it completely fills in the picture. So my thing was, when I left that Culver's that day, I was like, okay, well, this is what I was going to do, and now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go after something I really have always wanted to do, which was Amazon basins particularly, but even northern. So as soon as I got home, I made some phone calls, obviously, and now we've got a shit ton of emeralds, and then I built kind of a crude system to test it out. It's working really well. And now I'm in the process of building a real full system. So, but yeah, basically, I don't even want to say it, but
You don't have to say what you don't want to say.
no. But overall, across the board, our husbandry for any equatorial tropical species is pretty inadequate. And there was a few things that
You're saying tubs are wrong?
and oddly enough, that is actually part of the problem. Not tubs per se, but we have a limited amount of commercial caging that's available, and everyone wants to use that caging. And most of the caging, it was not designed for those kind of things. They were designed, the racks in particular, designed for ball pythons. People spent a lot of money and a lot of time to come up with a plug-and-play system. So nowadays, I mean, I remember when ball pythons were not easy to breed, but nowadays you can buy a rack, buy the ball pythons, buy the food, buy the water, plug them in, done. Yeah. And pretty much a 10-year-old can do it. Yeah. And that's not a slight on ball pythons.
Roasted.
But no.
Yoshii, how old are you?
10, I swear.
No. I mean, there's lots of things like
Yeah.
that. There's but it's been made easy because they have very specific and tailored, husbandry, at least to get breeding out of them.
Yeah, targeted.
Reliable breeding. The CB70 and the rack that they go in with the heat thing in the back, it more or less checks all the boxes they need. So you actually have a plug and play system, but you don't really have that for anything else. Now, some colubrids, a lot of colubrid species, ground-based small colubrid species work well in those boxes. And then, in the snake caging, those were originally really designed for boa constrictors, and they work really well for boa constrictors. You get a big vision cage, and especially if you modify it a little bit. But for everything else, and particularly anything that needs high humidity, a lot of water, a lot of area to move around, arboreal things, I found out early on in the anole development that if you don't give them a variety of different size branches, of different size things to crawl on, that they don't develop properly. Yeah. And
They need to use like different kinds of muscles and stuff like you're saying.
I mean, I see it with blue tongue skinks. This is one of the reasons why I did this system that we have for the blue tongues, is that, and I mean, I think people that have seen the blue tongues out there, and they're different than the ones you see that raise in a box. I mean, the boxes, obviously they work. I'm not an anti-racker, so don't go.
He's looking at me while he's
because Chuck's about ready to hug me, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. You can do the same thing with a lot of rat snakes. A lot of rat snakes you can tell if a rat snake grew up in a tub because its nose has kind of not necessarily like ripped its face off, but it is like you can see stunted.
My Texas rat.
You can see stunted. Yeah. I went to well, I should probably shouldn't say that. People know where I live. Like they know that I'm here, but I went to a place that sells reptiles. And I saw a Texas rat that did have that thing, and I'm like, that definitely was raised in Iraq because they just shove themselves. Yeah, they really try to push themselves.
It's an animal that climbs a lot, so the whole time it's in a rack, which is what I had it in. It's trying to push. Yeah. So I had it since it was a little baby, and now that it's big, it's like 5.5 feet, and then his face has like a bump, and it's like a pug, pushed in type of thing.
I'm not in the blue tongue game at all. I have zero interest in that.
Boo.
I love this.
No offense, but he's right. I've now that I've seen his collection and seen those animals, and then I see other people's animals, I can tell the difference now.
Yeah, I think that's right there. It's equivalent to quality of the animal because whatever it is allowing the animal to work those muscles that they sometimes cannot work in other
There's
areas.
ramps, there's different things that they can climb on, and they all use it.
Yeah. It's a two-pronged assault on that problem, though. Heather has designed our own food, so we don't really rely on so she does all the husbandry for them, and the food that they get, I doubt there's anybody out there that's,
providing
offering the variety. Yeah, they get bugs, a variety of insects. They get her own concoction, which is a mixture of a few different commercially available diets, and then some cat food thrown in, and then some other things, and so they get this really random and totally variable depending on the day. They get different fruit. Some days they get nothing but fruit. Sometimes they'll go 2 weeks without getting any. Sometimes they'll get whatever fruit is in season. Like right now we're getting what's that thing that I have growing on the side of the building that the raccoons keep? Yeah, papaya.
Ooh,
so right now we're getting a lot. Right now we're getting a lot of papaya. So all that stuff is getting a lot of that. And it makes a huge difference. The ones that are just kind of raised on cat food, you can keep them alive that way, and raised in a box where they can't use their muscles, then you get these kind of floppy. So I was not happy with that when I originally started. When Heather really wanted to go into these and we started buying them up, I was like, man, these things, all the ones we're getting, they're kind of floppy. They just don't feel right. They don't feel like wild.
It's better when they're like erect.
Yeah. Like who goes flaccid, bro? Like the skin goes like this.
Right.
Supposed to have a hard spine, though.
They should be fast. Ours are super fast. Like when you come out there and you walk by the enclosures, they're gone.
Now that you say that, that's one of the jokes that I have at my job because the one we have it was in a tub. Now it's like in a big thing, still not like for all the muscles and stuff. One of the jokes I have is if you guys look at this blue-tongued skink and it was a predator trying to eat it, if he was to run, is he fast or slow? Yeah. Everybody says fast, and I on purpose put him on the floor, touch the back to go as fast as possible. It's super slow. And then I just go, that's turbo right there. Everybody dies laughing. I pick them up, and then I go, no. In the wild, they're a lot faster, especially with fear. I would be fast too. Yeah. But like I've noticed that. So
you start screaming at it.
Run! So I've used that, and now that you say that out loud, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And when you see videos of them in the wild too, they're like.
Yeah, so our friend Tino, he sent me a video of this guy. He's like, "Oh, you guys know the shoe racks? The shoe racks where people put their like Jordans or whatever." And so he's like, "So I had this great idea for my geckos, right?" And so he's drilling holes in the sides and putting vents. And he sent me that, and I responded to it and said, "People will do literally anything but build their animals enclosures." Yeah. Get their animals some
especially
space.
for what it is, like what you said, like with the blue tongues and stuff, like. I feel like that's way more interesting than the breeding itself. Like the breeding, a +1.5. Yeah. But then figuring out how to keep them, that's
actually the best part of keeping.
That is the thing. That is
reverse engineering and building.
This is also why I've never made any money. 40 years. Yeah, because
you're
that's
a
not
local legend.
That's
No, he's international. Don't get it twisted.
International legend. Yeah.
I have a shirt, but he should have a clothing line.
That's good. Yeah. That's good.
That is great.
But like how many rack people are local legends really?
In the making. I don't know if you know this, but I am the Felsuma King of Ocoee.
Yeah.
I mean, how many are there, dude?
It doesn't matter. Just know that.
He's top. He's number one.
Look at Eddie. He's like, what the hell?
Just so Kobe.
God.
I stole some of his.
Yes, he did. God,
So,
it's your fault. So you think that even the snakes have like a similar thing with the arboreal stuff, that you still need to provide different size branches for them, as far as like their own
Yeah.
muscle growth?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. They're not sitting on a perch.
Yeah.
And even though I think the perch idea that they have clearly is a correct idea as far as, you know,
They need climbing.
they do have a tendency to sit out on the edge of the branches. Right?
Yeah.
That's where they sit. There's probably multiple reasons for that. You know, sunlight. I've noticed that ours bask all the time.
Uh-huh.
Everybody initially told me when I had floated this idea by a couple of people, they were like, "Oh no, you can't keep them above 86 degrees; they'll die." I was like, "Okay, well, watch this."
Yeah.
And so mine are out in 90-degree heat basking, but they can also get in the shade.
Yeah.
And they have, right now, like I said, it's very crude what they have, but they have multiple different sizes, branches, multiple different orientations. They have some vertical, some horizontal. They use them all. Sometimes they're on the horizontal thick ones. Sometimes they're out on the edge of the thin ones.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're in the cork logs they're curled up.
Yeah.
So I just think in general, I think that, how do I say that without sounding like a complete asshole? But I think the reptile industry, I think a lot of us suffer from myopia, and I did too, for sure. My vision was, it took me a long time to figure out, 10 years working on those anoles, because I had to divorce myself from a lot of processes that we take for granted that we think are the right way, but they're actually. So once you rip all those hooks out of you and you change your perspective on things, you'd be amazed at the revelations that kind of pop into your head.
100%.
Like, I don't know where the fuck they come from, but
Culvers.
sometimes,
Everybody, write it down. We got a meeting.
You want good ideas? Go to Culver's.
so anyway,
I have a boa constrictor. He's only about 4 feet, so nothing crazy. But he's in a 4x2x2 enclosure right now. And everyone knows how the ETBs sit, right?
Yeah.
They get on the branch and they do the whole wrap thing around, right? My boa does the exact same thing. Every time he
It's a
does it, I
hybrid.
take a picture. I know, right? I'm like, this guy doesn't know what kind of boa he is, you know. And he's basking, and he's doing the ETB thing with his
Yeah.
head sitting on top of it. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's insane. If you have that kind of animal at like 6 feet, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet long, and you don't have branches in there for it to do that, it's never going to. You know,
Yeah.
you're never gonna see
Not
anything
just-
different from one
not
animal.
just branches, but different types of branches.
Yeah.
Well,
we had this conversation a while back where, like in the people who breed birds and parrots, it's just one perch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two perch.
I hate that.
And they're the same diameter.
Yeah.
You start messing up the
Yeah.
parrot's
Yep.
feet.
Yeah.
Same if they're too flat.
The same thing happens with these arboreal snakes. You give them one type of perch and then that's it. Their bodies just,
Deformed.
yeah, it's just not looking good.
well, and one thing I've said this on other podcasts before, but one of the things that I have figured out is, and I mean, other people clearly must know this. I just haven't. I mean, it's not something that I came up with on my own, but I did notice that. Okay, so I think that what you see there, when you see that, I think that's a water collection strategy.
To pool water.
It pulls
To
water
hold
to
for
the
its
head.
face,
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure that's why emeralds do it and chondros. That's why they're sitting out on the edge of the branches. That's
In
to
the
collect
rainforest,
rain,
yeah.
collect rain, and to collect dew. So they don't. In the dry season, they're getting dew cycles. In the wet season, they're
Right.
getting rain. And they just that's why they're in captivity. They're fucking dehydrated all the time because it's very hard to simulate that, especially in this kind of standard caging. All of our caging for reptiles is basically beef jerky boxes, like for everything.
Yeah.
It's a dry box because you got to keep it dry.
Yep.
And then you put a heat panel or a heat lamp in there that dries it out even
Yep.
further. That's why everybody has to kind of, is constantly in catch-up mode.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we're doing is we're kind of re-looking at all of that, why that is the way it is. Like I look at a lot of YouTube videos, I look at a lot of stuff online, and I see a lot of dehydration signs. They're minor, but they're there, in almost all of it. So so I started really kind of pushing that. So, but again, it's a work in progress. There's a lot of moving parts to it, but I think the water intake is something to look at, but
absolutely,
but also different caging. It sucks. I hate building cages. I absolutely hate it. I can't do it. I'm terrible at it. I have people that I call.
I just pay people to do it.
Yeah,
I don't do it
because I suck at it. But I think that depending on the species, you kind of have to tailor with the exception of like some of the most popular stuff, because we already have the tailor more or less, and then so it's real. I mean, how many different ways can you build a box? But turns out
there's multiple.
There's lots.
Yep.
And then even the box that we have, you don't have to. They don't have to. Everybody kind of copies each other. Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of cannibalizes, and that's a problem. Because if the first guy doesn't have it right, then everybody else downstream is not going to have it right. That's how you have all this crazy misinformation all over Facebook, and we've actually gone backwards. Honestly, I feel like as far as the industry, as far as knowledge, we've actually gone backwards.
You think backwards and not still?
No, I think we've gone backwards. There's a lot more people that believe a lot of just absolutely ridiculous ideas. That was not the case 20 years ago.
If you want to support us, head on over to modernreptileshop.com or in the description where you can find our merch. And the best part is that a % of the proceeds from the merch gets donated to conservation. One more time, that's modernreptileshop.com or head on over to the description.
To what you were saying, we had a black throat monitor.
Oh my god! I thought you were gonna say something else.
In a old school enclosure, right? Outside, but old school, just dirt. A thing for him to climb, bask, and that was it. So they gave us another enclosure to put him in, and I went, okay, what can we do? They told us whatever you want. So me and my coworkers got together and we started looking at photos of the animal in the wild.
Yep.
Started looking at clay. We got clay in the back. We go, all right, get a few buckets of clay, throw it all on the ground. What else? We built it with a mound and we put a log under it, and then he dug his own burrow. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
He dug his own burrow, goes in there, and now it's like good humidity and all that. And then I go, he's always shedding. One of the guys goes, monitors are always shedding. And I was like, nothing's always shedding. Like, something's odd. So now we put a hose into the hole where he lives in. Within a month, he's just like prettiest coloration he's ever had. Like, that is just what you were saying, like hydration from that hole where he was in. So it's a mound, a log, heat lights on top of it. Like right now, it's hot as hell, and he's basking. Like, he's basking at 150 easy. You went in there, you felt it. He goes in there. So I put water, that heat goes through the mound down there, makes all that humidity in there. He gets to shed, walks out looking like dark as hell, super pretty.
Yeah. You know what, though? I think that just in general with reptile keeping, people are afraid of humidity because of the fear of a respiratory infection.
Yep.
And for that to travel around to your whole collection.
The reason respiratory infections happen most of the time is because of stagnant air.
Yep.
If you are constantly breathing in the same cycle of water in the air,
then
you are
mold
going to
comes
breathe in more mold, more bacteria, more fungus. I think that's one of the next things that a lot of reptile keepers are doing nowadays, but not enough people. And it's about air circulation. They're putting in fans within their enclosures with misting systems to keep that air moving.
That's part of the problem. Absolutely.
Ventilation.
The stagnant air is a big part of the problem. The other part of the problem is this insistence on maintaining reptiles at this sort of safe temperature, a static safe temperature.
Yes.
I've never seen it. I mean, static 85 degrees. Yep, sounds good, and you can probably maintain them like that. But are they really going through all their life functions like that?
Nope.
No.
I have beauty rat snakes, and everyone tells you room temp only.
Yeah.
You don't put any heat on them. All of my rat snakes have 35 watt halicons. It's not a lot of heat.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of heat. But at that basking spot, it gets 85 degrees. And that's another thing. A lot of people are putting their animals, and it depends on the animal, of course, but they're putting their animals on like 12-hour heat cycles where they can't get away from that heat.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like your animal is on all the time. Yeah. You know, there is no cool down for them. There is no gradient for them. Yeah. I keep the heat lamps on for my plated lizards, for Sudanese giant plated lizards. I think about 4-hour intervals, 2 4-hour intervals. So if they want to bask in the morning, they can. And if they want to bask in the afternoon, there's still that option. Yep. But the lights go off at night. They stay at room temp overnight. Yep. You know, I don't have any heat lamp or a heat light or any heat option at nighttime because they don't find it. Yeah, they're in the ground. They're in their burrows sleeping. They don't need to be hot all the time.
Correct.
So with the beauties, they're only on for 4 hours out of the day because I don't want them to cook. So I only give them that heat spot. And when that heat turns on, depending on the snake, they're there basking, and then they go back.
Yep.
You know, because they only need to be that hot for so long. They're like, I just need the energy for the rest of the day. Digest my meal, go back to doing my thing.
If you go herping, that's exactly what you look for.
You have 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening.
You see?
Yep.
Why not replicate what is in the wild?
That's what I always have done.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. When I feel like when I started, I wanted to be a ball python breeder. I feel like that's lame.
You chose correctly.
Yeah. So
I
then,
think you just got a flag.
so then I started herping and seeing the animals. Exactly that. You know what I said? You know how I found my first snakes? Gopher tortoises. I'm like, I can't find fucking snakes, but these turtles are everywhere.
Yep.
So I writing down what time they come out.
Yep.
And when I was about to figure it out, I met a friend of mine that herps throughout the whole state, and he tells me, it's this time. I was like, God fucking damn it, I was right there. And then I could do it. Yeah. And then now I go home, and I'm like, first of all, I have mine in racks. They can't even periscope like the snakes that I see outside. Yep. They can't climb, which most of my corn snakes have been like up fucking trees and shit. Yep. Yep. And then I'm like, okay, something's off. Like I don't like this because of what I see out there. Like I don't understand how we got here when out there it doesn't work like that.
Well, it's just what Ron just said. He's like, we're trying to keep everything like they're ball pythons.
Yes.
Granted, racks are not the best thing for ball pythons, but they work for them.
Yes.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that they work for every animal. We just talked about rat snakes. We're talking about ETBs. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work for everything. You know, and everybody's trying to put their animals in shoe racks.
But I kind of the good thing about it is like people like him get to have an advantage and have a step ahead of everybody and go, let me go this route, and then.
You know what would suck though? If you're close to Ron, but you're doing like the ball python stuff, like Yoshii, and he's like, yeah, how do you keep your blue tongues? And Ron's like, oh, I keep them outside. I give them this, and Yoshi's crying like, so
I hate you guys.
They're in a CB70?
CB70. No, I mean, you guys know that I have every intention to put the blue tongues outside. So that's like the next thing that I am excited for.
You know what I just imagined?
What?
You pushing the rack outside.
He's like, he told me to do this. That's fucking great, dude. That's great.
Yo, when I post the pictures of the blue tongues outside, I'm just gonna Photoshop a rack. That's just all I'm gonna do. Be like, yo, the blue tongues are outside, bro. We did it.
I'm gonna log into Facebook next week and see motherfuckers pushing their racks out.
Thank you, Ron St Pierre, for telling me.
This is why I'm very careful about, because we do a lot of experimental shit, and I can't tell you how many times we've had people that see what we do, try to replicate it, do it all fucking ass backwards.
Yep.
And I can't really there's this pervasive myth that keeping stuff outside is easier than keeping stuff indoors.
Yeah, no.
And that is absolutely patently false.
Yeah.
Because not only do you have to know the animal and the environment, but you also have to know your weather conditions, your native fauna that could interfere, the fucking plant life that's around. I mean, there's all these things that go into it, and then you're constantly reacting to the weather. Especially this year's been nuts. Like, it was cold in early June, and then it got super hot, and now it's
raining constantly, burning.
Yeah, all kinds of so we're constantly turning the dials. Yeah. So I never suggest that people try to do what we're doing. Mm-hmm. I tell everybody the same thing. You know, you got to do some thinking for yourself. You got to figure out, what can I do if I want to keep this? What can I do within my own framework?
So the amount of times working at a pet store where people are like, I want a tortoise, and I'm like, okay, cool. What's your setup looking like? What are we gonna do about it? And like, I want to keep it outside. And I'm like, do you know anything about that? And they're like, no, I just have a lanai, and I want to let him live in there. And I'm like, so nothing.
Yeah.
So you don't know how this works at all.
To Ron's point, I live 20 minutes away from Ron. That's it, 20 minutes away. If I were to keep exactly like him,
everything would die.
Everything would be dead. They would just die.
Why? Floods?
He's on black
So he's
soil.
on a higher elevation. You dig, it's white sand. You dig in my yard, it's black, it's water. Mm-hmm. So everything I have to build is, if it's a drier species, it has to be built on somewhat of a stilt.
Raised up. Yeah.
It's raised up.
Yeah.
Again, it's like what he said. You have to know your animal. You have to know your land. I moved 2 years ago from one area to another, only 8 minutes away. Completely different. Completely different. Literally 8 minutes away. Yep. I lost almost 2 seasons just from that move.
Wow.
And it was just from that.
The microclimate.
It was, microclimates, everything was different.
Yeah. Even where you put the enclosure.
Yeah, again.
Like telling people like, okay, at what point are you going to put this enclosure in your lanai? Because you need to make sure it's not in complete sun. One, you need to make sure that there's some direct sun that comes in there if you're not going to put any heat on the thing. But you need to make sure that there is still shade there.
Yeah.
So do you know how your lanai works like that or no?
Yeah.
Because then I can't help you.
I have no idea what a lanai is.
It's a patio that's screened in.
Oh, okay.
So, the other thing is, I hate this topic, but I hate having to fight it because people say, "Oh, you keep animals outside. It's so easy. You're cheating." That's the one thing we get a lot. We're cheating.
Oh,
People think that?
Yeah.
You're cheating. You're putting it outside. But look at it like this: when you keep an animal indoors, you control the humidity.
Everything.
You control the substrate. You control the sun, your light bulb.
Yep.
Outdoors, you don't control any of that shit.
Nope.
You just control where you're putting that animal, and then you react from there.
Yep. Total chaos.
And then,
Yeah.
in my situation, when I moved, I had everything set up. I had a giant ditch in the back with a river. The city bulldozed that river and flattened it out. So guess what?
Oh, shit.
Everything floods now. I have to react and change how everything is now.
The frogs are like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's
Yeah.
So all of those Soto cages that I just built, like I said, everything's on a stilt.
Yeah.
And, you have to be reactive constantly. So this whole thing of you're cheating because you're putting things outdoors is not the case.
No.
But again, the only benefit that you're getting is your animal's actually getting real
No,
UVB.
we get a lot of benefit.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that's going to beat
it's
the
worth
sun.
the effort to do it if you can do it, but you actually have to do a lot of fucking research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And
you-
real UV. That's the most important thing, I
Yeah,
think.
you can't. We can't replicate that.
No.
Nobody's ever going to replicate that big ball in the sky.
No.
It's
Everyone
just
wants to
not gonna happen.
criticize the outdoor keepers, but again, if you had the opportunity to keep your animal in a proper setting,
Yeah.
which the sun is better than any brand of UV light,
The sun,
can
the
do
rain.
it.
That's part of the reason. Like, I really want a pied pectinata, and that's part of the reason I don't get one yet, because I still need to figure out where I'm going to put that enclosure, and I'm scared about what'll happen to it if I fuck up. I know you have the banana pectinatas outside too.
Heather's got a bunch of them. We just got a bunch of eggs. They're doing real well.
Awesome.
Jeez.
So, you know what? Honestly, the trick to those in Florida really is to build an 8-foot vertical cage,
That's all,
so
yeah.
they can no matter where the sun is in the position in the
Oh,
sky,
shit.
they can always go up to the top and get it.
Yeah.
So, and if you orient it near where your house is, I mean, you can pretty much guarantee. That's the real secret to them is they are incredible
wanna be-
basking
yeah.
species. They like a lot of heat and they bask a lot more than any other reptile I've ever seen.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, that's how that was the. I mean that is a guarantee. Then you can literally put it any place.
Yeah. Okay.
Like as long as your house doesn't totally block it. 8 foot seems to be about what the standard
yeah.
house.
And they use that entire enclosure.
Yeah, and they
from what
use the
I've
whole
seen,
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had to make him look for eggs because they hit him in a spot I couldn't get to.
I had
I was like, man, I'm too fat to get in there. Do me a favor.
That's
But
How are the frogs doing for you then?
I mean, I just have the whites, and they're kind of a side before I figured out the emerald tree boa thing, I was going to go at frogs hard, and then I figured that I was like, all right, I canceled every tree frog we were working on except for the whites, and honestly, they're canceled. I'm just kind of waiting to see if they have some babies and whatever. But
You just can't compete with Eddie.
no. I wonder who taught him how to do those.
That's true. No, that's true. Ron years ago.
He won't let you have anything, dude.
Ron years ago told me about the whites, and I did it.
No, I was like, yeah, it's honestly, tree frogs have always been my get out of jail thing. If I have a shitty year, something wipes me out, with my other stuff that we work on.
That's true.
I can take a group of frogs and be into profit.
Hey,
in
Alex,
about
how many
6
frogs you
months.
want? All right, cool. I'll be there in 30 minutes.
I use red-eyed tree frogs to bail me out of a lot of hard times over the years. I just go down, buy 20, 40 imports, put them outside in an enclosure, collect the fucking eggs, and
That's fire.
yeah.
I think I'm gonna start breeding frogs.
No, you ain't, bro. I'm terrified, bro.
It sounds easy, but you better be able
No,
to.
I'm not gonna do it.
The majority of
I see
my
one jump, I'll fucking shit myself.
no, the majority of the food is for my frogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
I would say
Interesting.
maybe like 80% of what I purchase for feeding is just for those
That's
frogs.
insane.
Jesus Christ.
You know what I've played with and like kind of like those experiments you be doing. So whenever I go down south, whatever I catch, I bring it home and then I keep it outside.
Yeah.
Right. So I have anoles, which by the way I'm gonna hit you up soon. Just know that shit. I have a night anoles. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in 2 different types of enclosures. That's why one time I asked you, what screen do you use? Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the screen from the Exoteros was fucking the faces up.
Yep.
So I was like, I need to figure something out. I had built one before you told me about that, which is like wood, all sides, and only the first door screen. And I used that screen. That also worked for me, but I need more sunlight in there. So like I've been testing that. And then chameleons was an interesting one because I got chameleons that were wild caught here in Florida, kept them outside, fucking thrive. And I was like, let me do the same with captive bred. Death.
Really?
They just died. They just fucking died. Same enclosure. Like I just moved them. I just moved the ones that were there thriving, put the captive born ones, and died. Same thing with my friend who has like a whole greenhouse of them, and he put captive born, and most of them died except for a few.
All veiled?
All veiled, yeah. All veiled. I haven't tried panthers yet, but I want to. I know where to catch them.
Yeah.
Where's
I
that
think
location?
everybody does at this
Huh?
point.
I said, where's that location?
Yo, we like 20 minutes. We could do it after.
Okay.
Really?
No.
Okay.
Because I vend at Repticon.
I don't know if you know, but I have a table.
But I'm a local like you.
That's beneath me.
Yeah. Yoshi's obsessed with putting everything outside now.
Yeah.
Yoshi's like, can it go outside? I don't want it. Nope.
Yeah, Felsuma,
Yeah.
Brettles.
Those are all good. Brettles are perfect for
Yeah.
outdoors.
And I think she's gravid, my female.
Oh, shit.
She's like that, dude. So fingers crossed. I'm excited about that.
That's crazy.
I did it.
Now you're a real breeder after that.
Yeah.
Now I've bred turtles outside.
They breed themselves, dude. Come on.
Well, it's not like I put effort to breed the Brettles. They bred themselves. I didn't put cloaca to cloaca.
But you changed the ecosystem and the habitats, and you did it. That makes you a local legend.
Like you now.
Get a shirt.
We gotta
have to get another shirt.
Yeah, but not yet. Not yet. You said now. You gotta make sure.
Established.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta breed frogs first.
Well,
Cane toads.
oh my
my
god, dude, I
You'd
would die.
die.
I breed a lot of Cubans. I see them jumping out of my turtle
So,
ponds.
Bleach them.
Oh god.
so many of them.
Yeah.
No,
I just moved the anoles to a giant. The lace monitor enclosures.
Yeah.
Now the
Oh, the
anoles
anoles
are
are
in
in there?
those.
That's
No.
crazy.
Dude, it's
Is that the one you post like multiple?
yes.
Oh my
No,
god.
that's actually
yeah.
badass. I wish I would
That's
have
fire.
thought of this
And
10
they-
years ago.
How many are there? Are there multiple males?
So I did have multiple males and some, but then they were constantly fighting over the center, and I was like, yeah, they weren't hurting each other, but I was afraid.
Stressing
So
them
the
out.
Ludogalaris are so rare, and I'm really currently still one of the only people. I think I am actually the only person that's producing them still, but hopefully that's going to change because a lot of people now. I've been putting them in competent hands, so next year. But that anole is so rare, I didn't want to take a chance, so I ended up splitting them. So what I have is on Ludogalaris, basically each enclosure is going to have one male and 4 females. So I have that with the Podior, I have that with Ludogalaris, and I have that with albinos. And man, it's the best shit I ever did with them things. I'm just shocked at how, first of all, they're awesome to watch. Now you get to see them like in those
Behaviors and
in those
shit.
3-foot
Yeah,
cages.
yeah.
It's just not.
not
It
the same.
wasn't enough. And then it was a pain in the ass too with the screen cages because. One, trying to get them not to rub their nose is a bitch. 2, every time you have to find eggs from those things, you have to pull the plant out and then check for the egg.
Everything's ruined.
And they jump out, and then I end up wasting 10 minutes chasing them around. And so in these big cages now, I just go in with a tray that has 4 plants that are up near the ceiling, and then I just pull the plants down, check for eggs, put them back. The anoles move from plant to plant as I move them, so they're not disturbed. And it's kicking ass. We pulled so many eggs out of them last week. It was
You see,
Crazy.
that's that right there. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. Did you see Armin was like teasing a whole huge enclosure they had. Armin
Yeah.
from Herb Time.
Yeah.
And he's like, guys, what am I gonna put in here? What am I gonna put in here?
Yeah,
And it was
it's-
like croc monitor, whatever. And it's like, guys, green anoles. What if I did green anoles? And not gonna lie, I was like, really, bro? But then I was like, you know what? Fire.
Yeah.
That'd be fire.
That's the thing.
You're showing everyone how they should keep a green anole.
Yeah, and I feel like that also gives a lot to the animal. Like, it's cool. The animal's cool as fuck. But seeing the animal in that type of habitat and then, like, seeing them react to, like, different shit. A fucking fly goes in there. You see the motherfuckers going crazy.
They eat brown anoles.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
Brown anoles go in there, and then you see them.
The other day, I took my Texas rat out because I'm I'm an Instagram weenie, and I took it out, and bro, it caught a brown anole, and I was like, God fucking damn it, and this shit's inside. Yeah. And it's like,
yeah, you should just leave it outside, Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason. Honestly, that was a problem that I had in my. For some reason, even I had it in my head that you had to keep snakes indoors. Had to be kept indoors. I don't know why. It just that it was there, and then I was like, why the fuck do I need to do that? That's dumb. So then
the snakes are outside, I think.
Yeah.
Are there snakes outside?
Are there snakes outside?
Well, I think it's because the snake aspect of the hobby is very controlled. Control the environment, control everything, try to get the outcome. And that does work really well for some things, but there's a lot of things, especially all the shit that's still considered difficult to breed.
Yeah.
The reason that it's difficult to breed is because they need totally different setups than what we have. So if this
environmental triggers.
So far, this works. It appears to be working very well with the emeralds. We're going to see what it translates to actual production, and then I may employ this method for other difficult species.
I love that. I freaking love that so much.
Alex,
I really
who's the ETB breeder? We've mentioned him a lot. Alex or Mark or I forget his name. But he does like beautiful, insane ETBs. Ed Marino, yes. Yeah. Insane ETBs. I've seen these animals, I'm like, that is nuts.
Yeah, those are basins. He has those really thick, wide white stuff.
It's crazy. It's insane.
I think you showed me those.
Yeah, probably.
That one.
It's nuts, dude.
Yeah,
he's probably one of the longest running Amazon basin emerald breeders.
It's crazy.
He's got a lot of. I watch his stuff on Facebook, and
it's kind of crazy how like people like you guys exist and people still don't like learn from that, and so
you know why
they keep trying the same method that doesn't work.
It's because people like you are posting and not them. They're like, my Texas rat ate an anole, guys.
Yeah, but that's my story. Most of my supposed crocodiles.
What's cool? I have the Australian water dragons outside, and I think I've told you guys this before in the last podcast. But I'll put food in for them, and they stay still. Actually, a lot of my outdoor stuff do. They stay still for the first like 10 minutes, especially the Australian water dragons. The brown anoles come. They get the food that I threw in there, and then the Australian water dragons or whatever
take those anoles.
Then they take the anoles.
Clean out the invasives, bro. We got it. Why don't we make an outside enclosure for whatever eats berms in the Everglades?
But if I were to post that, I'd be crucified by the way.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't care. I love it.
I got to the point where I just don't give a shit. Every time we post like an outdoor bearded dragon thing, we're flooded with, "Oh, you can't do that in Florida. They're gonna die from the rain." Really? Unless it's acid rain. I don't know.
You know, me, and I don't know if you're like this, but I would have been like, "Oh no, I've been doing this for years. It's all been so wrong this whole time. It's not like I made all my money off of this."
No, the best part, since I vend all the Repticons, thank you, sir. Since I vend all the Repticons, and I have the bearded dragons at the shows, they'll talk to me.
The beardies?
They talk to me. I drink a little bit and they talk to me. The people will talk to me and they're like, "Hey, have you heard about this person? I think her name's Heather." And they're like, "I heard she keeps her dragons." And they look at me and they go, "Outdoors." And I'm like, "Really?"
Really?
And I act like I have no idea who. Like, I'm just like, "Whoa, that's insane."
That's insane.
And they tell me, and they're like,
So I would never do that.
That
I would
is
never
so
even
crazy.
sell those
and
kinds
when
of
they tell me,
beardies.
they like talk all quiet and shit.
Like
I hear she's in Central Florida. Really?
No.
Really? You don't say.
I started doing this like what I did with the monitor with almost everything that I keep, especially at work. Like just going, like I read, "Oh, this is how it's supposed to be kept," and I go bullshit, and then I literally go and look at where they live, and not the fucking country. That's another thing. People look for the country. Like motherfucker, Florida. Every fucking mile is different.
Yep.
Where are they at?
Yeah.
I go to the specific areas, and then I look, and I'm like, I look like Florida, dog.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's one of the things that a lot of people who keep reptiles, that's their mistake. It comes from New Caledonia. Where in New Caledonia?
Yeah.
It comes from Africa.
Where?
Do you realize how
big-ass
big
place.
Africa's?
This whole desert
Africa's
ain't
a
that bitch.
continent. You realize that, not a country.
You know what's really good for that? I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're called Terralog books. Have you ever seen those?
No.
I'll have to show them to you when you come out. But I don't know if you could, I think you can still get them on Amazon, but I think they're originally produced in Germany or maybe Spain. But they're basically kind of an encyclopedia. They have a photo of the animal, of the species, like whatever they're covering, and they're fucking badass. But they are the only books that I routinely pull out. So they're about you can get them for different things, and they have a key that shows exactly where it comes from, exactly what the temperature ranges are, exactly what the humidity range, the rainfall range. It's just a very simple, but it gives you everything you actually need. You don't have to sift through all this bullshit. This someone's opinions or beliefs or any of that crap. Cuts it all out. You get the facts, and then you can build your own.
Absolutely.
When I started with the Brettles, timestamp this, Eric. When I started with the Brettles, I went on.
That's good too.
That's what I use. I just haven't said it.
That's why I told him to timestamp it. So I would go there and I would look exactly where they were found, how they were found. I did the same for the blue tongues when I started, saying that I'm going to put them outside, and I did the same with the Phelsuma. So I could be like, let me see how I could, mimic these things.
Of course.
The
That's
same
what I
and
did
the
with the
Reeves turtles.
monitor.
The Reeves turtles.
I've done it with the Hunter Flowers, the White Lip Python.
Awesome.
Just
the
to make
beauties.
sure that you're hitting those temperature gradients. If you're listening to this, you're a reptile lover. All right, and what do we all need? We need supplies. So, we got you covered. Head on over to imperialreptiles.com and use the code REPTILESWITH to get a specific discount, special to us and our listeners, for your reptile supplies today. One more time, that's imperialreptiles.com. Use the code REPTILESWITH.
When I took my Hunter Flowers to the vet because he had a cloacal or a scent gland infection. That was it.
What'd you do to him?
Nothing. I don't know. I think he trying to sense stuff and it was clogged, so he was just I don't know, throwing darts.
You should do what they do to the horses, so that way they don't get backed up. They kind of
What? No.
You're
Anyway,
crazy,
that's
dude.
what they do.
so
I would do
the
it.
vet, he tells me, "Oh, I took some samples and stuff. He's dehydrated." And I'm like, "Why is he dehydrated? He has water all the time." And then I'm like, "I probably need to miss more often." So I'm like, I started missing more often. The next time I took him for a checkup, he's all good. I'm like, amazing. So we were talking about the hydration earlier. It's like there's water vapor.
Yeah,
A lot
in
of the
the
air we
fucking
breathe
air.
is water
Yeah.
vapor. If you remove all the water vapor, you go to the Sahara Desert, you're going to have a respiratory infection.
Yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. These animals, like, a lot of people don't understand. They want the care sheet because it's like, this works for everybody. I want to do the same
Formula.
thing. They want the formula.
You know, it's crazy. That's not even within like our industry community, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But like in the zoological field, that shit happens too.
Oh
where,
yeah.
Like,
No, that happens to everything.
yeah, like we keep Orinoco crocodiles, for example. They're fucked in the wild, and they got sent to different places throughout the world to breed, and then the babies get to go back to Venezuela and be released, and then nobody could breed them. And it's like, what the fuck? What do you mean nobody can breed them? So, three different zoos finally did it, and then I don't think the information was passed on. And then
Or they didn't know what they did. A lot of times you don't know.
That too.
Yeah.
But then I went, okay, something's wrong. Why can they do it and we have a pair and we can't do it? So we started looking into where the fuck they come from. The person that sends them out here is from Venezuela, I'm pretty sure. He speaks Spanish, is all I know. So I hit him up. I'm like, yo, dog, what do you do? What's the move over there? Let me see what you got. Then he starts sending pictures of, so it's the river, the Orinoco River, and then it dries out, so there's just sand. No trees around, fucking sand. And then he just goes in the sand, digs out. And I go, cypress knees. The cypress knees don't let him dig.
Yeah.
So we covered the whole cypress knees with fucking sand all around. And then we went drought. So we have the power to get the pond back down. Mm-hmm. The second time we did it too far down to where it was too high up to get out there, so she laid them in the water. But I was like, oh, that was something. But then, one of the times, she dug, but we scared her. And she started laying in the water. But we fucking did it, and we went in the water and caught it out of her cloaca like this.
Oh my God.
Yep, and we hatched them.
That's
There you
awesome.
go.
So
So it's not confirmed that it's the sand, but she started to. But we walked back to, we had to open the park. When she saw, she jumped in.
I mean, it sounds like there's still something missing
Yeah,
from that
for sure.
equation.
I think the water should not have been that low. She kept hanging out exactly where she ended up laying. And she could feel the sand. Like, it was, like, shallow.
Yeah.
I wonder what the temperatures are in that sand in
That too.
situ.
That too. And then where it was, too, we have now a bar, and it has heating lights for her to bask even after the sun is
Because a
in.
lot of shit that lays in the ground wants a very specific temperature,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
they can sense it.
That's how fucking gharials are. Nobody can
Yeah.
breed them either.
Yeah. So unless you know exactly, it would be interesting to see what the confirmed nest site temperatures are in
Venezuela,
country of
yeah.
origin, and then you can see, okay, well, if this is, I bet you it's probably 86 degrees, but it may be some odd off temperature that they specifically have, evolved to require, and if that's the case, then you can kind of replicate that, using heating or cooling an area maybe. I don't know, but that sound to me that when they drop them in the water like that, even if you scare them, and the fact that it did it the first time as well,
Yeah.
it just sounds like there's a key piece.
Yeah. There's too many variables,
Dude,
too.
some of that shit, yeah. I mean, I've worked on shit like that for 10 years and not fucking.
Yeah,
figured
like
it out.
I just keep looking at, like, this year, I thought I had it. I was so fucking happy, and then it didn't. And I'm like, God fucking damn it. And then I started looking at the variables, and I'm like, I can't pinpoint it.
So these don't build a nest then? They dig
build
a tunnel.
Yeah, it's a tunnel like
See,
a turtle.
Yeah, see, and those usually have very specific temperature requirement.
Crazy thing, we had West African crocodiles, which were once confused for Nile crocodiles, and they were found in captivity because people had them, tried to put them in Niles, they wouldn't breed, they have opposite breeding seasons or whatever, so they don't even hybridize. So genetically, they finally found that they were different, so we have both. We have Niles and we have West Africans, so we build a pond for each. The Niles have always bred, we've always had Niles.
Yeah, that's
They're
a
cake.
common one, yeah.
Yeah, that's cake. The West Africans wouldn't. Now, the where they were, it was a pond and grass all around. So we moved them to the main park where there is cypress knees. Now there's the sand area we built. And then there's one with like a shell rock. And we didn't even plan on them breeding or giving us eggs because they never do. And then in the show area where the shell rock is, we found their digging.
No shit.
Yeah, and now we have like West African crocodile babies. Now we have like photos of both babies and go, okay, what are the differences between just the grunts, the babies themselves, and like it's just
So did
fucking-
she dig a proper nest and actually fully deposit?
yes, like a turtle, like just a hole. She left them there.
That's
We
cool.
actually left the eggs there for about 1 to 2 days, and then we went after and we got them.
All right, that's cool.
I'll show you after this. And that species showed us a behavior that me personally and my coworkers have never seen before. So when she laid the eggs, any other crocodilian, even the same species, gets an ass whooping. Like she was like, "Fuck you, you're
No
not
shit.
here." We did shows, but she only allowed us in the long part. She didn't allow us over there because, of course, we could step on it. So we learned that very quickly. And then the one that bred with her, that we have confirmed that is him, that was always with her. His name is Clyde. He walks up. She goes up to him, head to head, and she bellows and goes like this to his face. He lays down, and she lays her head on top of his.
That's interesting.
Like, what the fuck?
He's asking for child support.
Yeah, but it's like, why any other species that usually just leaves? Like, there are communal nesting every now and then, but like the whole behavior of noise, and she walks with her tail sticking up like a fucking scorpion, bro. Like it's
No
like
shit.
it's the weirdest species. Like, I'm very proud of the Orinoco. Like, I love that, but the West African has my heart now because of it. Because I
Do
learned
those
so
get as
much.
big as Niles?
No, they get like 12 feet, and they're very
Still
different.
dangerous though.
Yeah, for sure.
But
They look very different too. Like the babies, that Niles have like a whole bunch of speckling on the face. The West Africans are just clean in coloration, almost no pattern
so
whatsoever.
how was that confused for
I don't
Niles?
fucking know. Dumbasses, bro. You know,
But as adults, regardless of size,
I can
do they
tell them
look
apart.
similar? Okay.
No, I can tell them apart. Like the
But
Nile,
back in the day, just threw them all together.
yeah, they just threw them all together. And they were like, oh, both Niles, haha. You know who knew the difference?
The crocodiles.
No. There was a group of people. There was a group of fucking people. They motherfucking Egyptians built the
yeah.
pyramids and told the difference.
Yeah.
Here are our dumbasses keeping
Build
this
a
shit
py-
like it's the same.
So aliens?
Yes.
Fuck.
Confirmed.
It's not aliens.
As of
It's a
recently.
different type of aliens.
Oh,
You know where else there's pyramids?
where else?
Mexico.
Oh.
Y'all are so stupid.
They built those for sure.
They came over, got the Mexicans, so your cousins.
Yeah.
For half the price.
Half the price.
So bad, dude.
I'm Hispanic. I can say it.
Yeah. Come on, man.
I'm Mexican, I approve.
Let's go. Mexican card. We got it. We
The
got it.
Mexican card.
So what do you think, assuming that we can keep everything that we're keeping, right? Assuming the laws don't pass. What do you think the future is then? You think the future is the way that we're keeping the animals now? You think that more younger people getting into this are seeing the negatives of the way that things were before? Do you think that there's now a push for better keeping, more enrichment for the animals? What do you guys see?
I think there's two strains. Two roads diverge in a wood, right? So there's the people that are doing it right, have always done it right, will always do it right.
Me.
And there are people that join them. You know, they're like, yeah, I want to do it the right way too. I want to learn more. I want to do better.
Eddie.
Yeah, like Eddie.
I want to be.
And then there's
Eventually, I'll do better.
the fuck shit people, the people that are doing it wrong.
Chuck.
And they'll always go further and further this way. And I think that these are just going to diverge completely, where you can tell immediately what kind of person is
A civil
immediately.
war? Is that what you're saying, dude?
Well, there's so much drama right now.
Orlando
It basically
versus
is a
Miami,
reptile
I'm
civil
in.
war.
I switch sides. I go back down south.
Go ahead, bud. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm
do it.
Captain America.
Captain Miami.
Captain Miami.
Captain Hialeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I'll
It's
let you
Eddie's
go
geckos.
first.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Eddie's good.
I mean, I've been at this so long. At this point, I honestly, I don't really, other than the proliferation of bullshit through social media that I feel has dumbed down, I feel like now it seems more about dumbing shit down rather than telling people, hey, try to be, everybody should strive to go up, not dumb everything down for the lowest common denominator. So I do feel like there's a lot of that. I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just the fault of social media that gave everybody a voice. And when you give everybody a voice, that's great. It gives everybody a voice. And it can also be bad. It gives everybody a voice. There are people that you wish would shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But I honestly,
I will never.
It's
We know.
I honestly, it's always kind of been this way. There were always people that fucking suck and do the wrong shit, and people that try to continually progress and advance. And then there are always people in the middle that just kind of, they're either, the majority of the world sits in the middle. That's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. I mean, I'm not fucking satisfied with that. I always want to feel like I'm progressing up the ladder. I don't want to ever feel like I'm sitting in one spot.
Yeah.
Which is why I do the shit I do, but it also comes at a price. What I do is not... It would have been much easier for me in the late 90s when I knew that this ball python thing was going crazy and I had access. I was buying ball pythons, morphs, for $9 out of shipments and flipping them to Nerd and to Graziani and all these guys for $2,000 a pop. I could have kept those and I would have been set for life because I was at the bottom of at the beginning of all that shit, but I didn't because I didn't give a fuck about a pet rock and I wanted to do. No offense to ball pythons.
Ron's ball pythons.
This podcast is not like ball pythons.
Bro, we're just...
That's just personal.
What would your name
If
be?
this was physical,
Ron's
this
balls.
boy is
Ron's
bruised.
Balls LLC.
No.
Ron plays with balls.
No,
Confirmed.
they just weren't interesting to me. So for me, it would have been, but I could have literally phoned it in. I could have been cranking these things out from the very beginning and made a shit ton of money. But instead, I went the other direction, which is to go, whenever I see the industry going one way, I generally go the other way and try to find new things and mine new things and do new stuff and
become
find
a
better
god.
ways. Yeah, no, I wish. That's Eddie over there.
No, I'm just a legend. You're the god.
No, you're like Zeus and Hercules.
He was waiting for that.
Yo, thumbnail, dude.
Yeah.
Thumbnail.
The thumbnail's me holding the shirt.
But yeah, I just don't see it any different. I've seen all the drama lately. It's the same. This happens
Over and over and
every
over
time
again.
we're in a down cycle where shit is not, where everybody's not just rocking and rolling. People kind of turn on each other.
Yeah.
And get shitty, and then you have this stuff, and some of it. You have that fucking Samson Pruitt thing. See, I don't know anybody personally involved in any of that drama because I'm really fucking selective about who gets in my inner circle. So don't have any of those people in there.
Yeah.
Like I don't. I mean, I deal with some people that probably could be considered questionable, but they're friends of mine. They're forever, and they, and to get,
Yeah.
like imported animals and stuff. Sometimes, I mean, now I have that thing over there, Concepcion. But
Yeah, but he's one of those sketchy people. Look at him.
yeah, no, guys.
You said you wanted his load earlier too. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
for real.
That's my son.
He looked like he
Hey,
might
supposed
ask
to
me for
share
a
that,
dollar.
I'm
man.
sorry, bro.
That's my son.
Wait, so you are his son and he's your son.
There you go.
That's
Family tree.
I don't even want
Herculito.
I don't want any part of this.
You're a prodigy.
Have you bred anything ever?
No, he just gives it to me.
I was gonna say. That's why I said your geckos, not his geckos.
Jesus.
Yeah. Your
Yeah.
turn, bro.
How many geckos has he bought you now?
Has he bought you?
Bought me. What do you mean
Damn.
bought me?
I think
He
he's
just
your
buys
sugar
them.
daddy,
That
dude.
is exactly. That
Oh.
we.
No. He goes and he gives you geckos like if they're jewelry to his wife.
Damn.
Every show, he's just like, here you go, baby.
is. Yeah.
So
Every
he's
time.
Samson and he's Cass.
Oh, shit.
Dye my hair and shave my eyebrows.
Let's go, dude. Let's go.
I said, Alex, you shouldn't have.
I'll text you later. I'll let you buy me dinner.
Oh, that's great.
Hey,
I
what do you
didn't pay.
think?
What was the original
About
question?
what?
I don't even know where we
It
went
was some
now.
shit about the growth of the reptile
No,
community
okay,
or some
okay.
shit.
As far as like the real industry, for me, it's all about. Why are you laughing, Eric? You don't talk. You don't do anything. Now you laugh now.
I even went as far as setting him up a mic. Say something, bro. There. It's in there. It's in there.
Oh god, that's loud. I'll have you know that I breed 3 stripes and I'm doing good.
Three-stripe bug turtles.
Okay. All right.
My
so
mail
anyway,
came
what was
from
the
my
question?
dad.
Some shit about the growth of some
Listen,
shit.
the best part of this industry, for me at least, and this is one of the reasons I got out of ball pythons, because I started off as a ball python guy in the early 2000s.
We all grow out of it, don't we?
We do.
I never
Hey.
started.
We mature.
I was never in it. I can proudly say I have never bought a ball python. All of you have.
They don't have them in Mexico. It's
The
different.
best
dude.
part, and it's like what Ron was saying, figuring out this is not enough, and just keep reacting and
Yep.
changing over time. You know how many times I've seen this man build a cage for one species, and 3 years later, there's 20 different cages prior to what the new cage is?
Yep.
This is Mach 27.
Yes, and
I have a graveyard.
he does it. He has a graveyard. I've seen it.
Yeah, that's funny.
And that's the best part of this what we call a hobby, not an industry, a hobby. And it's figuring out the species. This is not enough. The best the pet species, no offense, ball pythons, all that stuff. It's easy. They breed no matter what conditions it is. But how come this species isn't doing it? It's not because it's hard. It's because you haven't figured out what makes it do what. All these environmental triggers. You're not doing it. That's the best part of it. Figuring it out.
That's the real science behind it all for me.
There is.
Yeah, and that to his point, that is probably the biggest stifling part of the business, which stifles progress, is that there's not enough people that think like that. Everybody kind of thinks that these big names, I mean, yeah, okay, that's whatever. But I don't see anybody as a big name. Like, I see everybody as pretty much equal. I don't care whether, you've been doing it for 5 years or however long the legend's been doing it or whatever.
2007.
No, I see everybody exactly on the
Motherfucker.
same playing field, because the last time I checked, we all eat, we all shit, we all fuck, and we all die.
Yeah.
So
Well, one of us here
nobody's
doesn't
special.
fuck. One of us. I'm not gonna say who.
Oh my gosh.
You?
All right.
No,
Anyway, no, but I mean, we're all the same, and so nobody is doing anything that's so good that it can't be made better.
Yeah. So, do you think, now this is my thing, do you think that there is a need to potentially change something that isn't broken if it benefits the animal? Specifically,
Racks.
yeah, racks, ball pythons.
Oh, I was kidding.
Is there, no, I was serious. Like, if we have this A to Z method for ball pythons.
Yeah.
Okay, but is that offering them what they need? Probably not.
See, that's a hard one on that. Okay, and the reason I say that is because a lot of very serious-minded people with put a lot of development. Those racks just didn't appear.
Yeah.
The racks you have today were iterated by an enormous block of very serious herpetoculturists over a period of time for that specific species. And for that, they figured out what was, the best way to produce them. Now, that's a commercial system, and if you're commercially producing reptiles and you're doing ball pythons, you're kind of foolish not to run those racks, because you're going to be at a disadvantage to everybody, and there's really no real how do you prove that they're not actually relatively happy in those racks? I mean, they look good, they breed, they do this stuff. Now, I know that I saw the thing that Liam did, and I agree with that, because my thought is, would you take your dog and lock it in a bare room and just leave it there? I mean, it would drive it crazy. Would you lock yourself in a bare room, nothing else, you're just in this room and you're stuck there, and that's all?
Heaven.
With no TV,
No if you lock,
you could lock me in a room, you give me a computer and a TV, I'm good.
World of Warcraft.
But I mean, the kind of bare minimum thing. The bare minimum thing serves a purpose. It allows basically the commercial trade, which gives everybody the ability to have stuff. You don't have anything without that trade. But it's specific. It should be specific to them. Hobbyists should not be copying that, because first of all, it sucks. As someone who's run racks before, I hate them. Not because but because I can't enjoy my shit in there.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have employees, so it's just me and Heather. So we want to enjoy everything we have. So everything is set up in a way where we can get the most out, and yet I can still manage to maintain some level of commercial viability that way. So it can be done.
So you think there could be a middle ground then?
There's always a middle ground. There's always a low bar. There's always a super high bar.
You keep your babies in racks, your breeders in enclosures.
And that's one way to think about it too. I mean, that's possible. I mean, if I was doing ball pythons, I'd probably be doing them outside, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think
Ron's like, I don't want anything in my house.
I don't.
whenever I think of like the racks and the tubs and all that shit, is like I always think like people are perfecting it. People are like, oh, it works, but they're mimicking the burrow they live in, not
That's
the
what they're
environment.
doing. Correct.
So like you're just allowing them to live in a burrow and just putting a rock over the burrow and allowing them to be there, instead of figuring out what the environment looks like, while at the same time giving them that burrow.
Yeah.
But I mean, those actually kind of do, to some degree. Look, they wouldn't be as successful as they are now if those boxes weren't damn close to perfect for at least to complete the life cycle. Now maybe not for the mental health of the animal. That's a whole other ball, and I'm not qualified to speak on that. But I mean,
that's what I mean. That the breeding probably all happens within the burrow.
Yeah, but again, that should be limited to commercial outfit. Like if I see a lot of hobbyists that go out and buy these, they have like 2 ball pythons and buy these $1,000 racks. I'm like, why are you wasting your money on that? That's for somebody that's sole purpose is to produce them in large, and you can't enjoy them in them. Again, what do? You slide your rack open. Oh, it's nice, and then you close it and you're done. Yeah, and you can't do anything.
So with my animals, a lot of the times people always talk to me about how much they handle their animals, how often should I be handling it, and I tell them like, I don't handle my animals like at all.
At all.
I hardly touch them except if I'm cleaning the enclosure, and I don't need them all over me. It's like I need to get them out. So for me, it's more about. It's like a fish tank. I sit and I watch them. I watch them do their thing.
That is
my
exactly
favorite thing.
what I do.
My favorite thing recently. I love the Boa doing like the ETB thing. The other thing is I love seeing my rat snakes completely off the ground.
Yep.
Like I've always had big enclosures for them, but when I see them perching completely off the ground, like hanging on their wood, I'm like, that's so cool.
Now that you say that, Yoshii, when you came to my job, where were the pygmies?
Oh, on the branches, yeah.
They were up on the branches. The
Pygmy
pygmy rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Up on the branches.
Was it flooded?
No, it's just an enclosure. They're
Yeah.
like we have everything naturalistic. They usually it's not like a tall enclosure. It's about this tall right here, and then we have some branches, and then they go up there.
No shit.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I collected
insane.
a lot of pygmies in the wild. I never saw one. They were always on the
To my
ground.
understanding, higher north people have found them in bushes.
No shit.
Yeah, in bushes, but not like up trees or anything.
I wonder
I've
if
seen
that-
them
I wonder if
on the
that's an
ground
actual
and, like,
subspecies
midway
that
up a
hasn't been
tree.
identified.
That'd be crazy.
I think personally there are undescribed species or subspecies in the 10,000 islands in Florida.
Oh, for sure.
At the bottom, all those
For
little
sure.
islands, lots of herps down there.
There's a couple of things that I've seen around, like even like as simple as like banded water snakes.
Yep.
There's areas where you get them. I don't know if y'all saw when I posted the like hypo one. They're all like that.
Yeah.
And it's not like somebody tried to say it was a mangrove. I'm like, no, I'm in Central Florida, bud.
Mangrove.
Like,
Yep.
I'm in Central Florida, bro.
I've collected mangroves and solid orange mangroves
Yeah.
on the Key Biscayne.
Ooh, I love that place.
That was my favorite. When I was a kid, we used to spend the night in the old zoo and hunt
Yeah.
all weekend in there.
I've done that too. Yeah.
In the monkey cages
Yeah,
in there?
yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit, dude.
Yeah, I've done that too. There's a American crocodile in there.
Yep.
There's iguanas. There's like
I
all types of
caught
shit.
caiman in there. I
Look
caught
at
a
me go.
giant water monitor in there.
Those days.
Hell yeah.
What's happening?
So do we
I have to pee.
Oh, you have to pee on
Go
the-
Yeah, go
pee.
pee. If you want, yeah, just go pee. Go pee.
Damn, we haven't.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, how do we like?
Keep talking.
Yeah.
We don't care that you're here.
Keep talking about not having a dad.
Yeah,
I have
I
one.
don't have one either.
No, he has one. He has one. He
Sucks to
said.
be you.
No, I'm saying like him. He said it to him. And now, damn.
Ron
Sorry,
could also
Chuck.
be your daddy.
Can you be my dad? I need
whoa,
a dad.
Oh, you know what?
what's happening?
Happy Father's Day, bro. I didn't tell you Happy Father's Day.
When was
Happy
Father's Day?
That's what I said.
Dude, I don't give a shit about holidays. None of that stuff. Yeah, I just, I'm the poster child for don't fucking care.
I like that. I want to
Yeah.
be him when I grow up.
It's easy.
You know,
Don't give a fuck.
I'm gonna ask you a question that I always ask Eddie, and he never wants to give me an answer, or he doesn't have the answer, I guess. How do you do this for a living? Like, how do you go independent doing this?
I mean, fuck, dude, I was like 18 when I did this, so you just, honestly, it's just jump.
Yeah.
You just be the best.
You just gotta, no, I mean,
Do better.
You gotta be.
The very best that no one.
Wow.
So it's two things. One, you got to learn how to live on practically nothing.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bad time, you need to be able to ride it out.
Yeah.
Like it's unpredictable. There's nobody's writing you a fucking check. You know, there's no insurance. There's no nothing. It's you. You have to be your own security.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing is to look at the landscape and do shit. Find where something's not being done and go do that. And just do it and prove to people, hey, this is worth doing. And then all of a sudden, and there's still lots of stuff like that. Like I can think of multiple things right in this shop. You know, red-tailed green rat snakes. Nobody does them. The person that figures them
I
out
love them.
is going to do very well. Emerald tree boas, like people still don't really have them figured out. There are people that produce a few. The top people, they produce some, but nobody's really got it figured out. So, and then there's just tons of shit like that. I mean, there's lots of stuff.
That's why with ball pythons, one of my biggest gripes is that everyone does ball pythons.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
and
nothing
it's
else
like,
to learn.
do you guys realize that if you guys didn't do ball pythons, you could learn another species, and then more of that species is there? You will be at the forefront of some other species instead of trying to compete in this market where there's 50,000 other animals for sale online right now. You know, like why would you do that to yourself?
But there is money in there too, though. Like the market.
Not
is,
There's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That,
if you are already having, like, if you
You
start
definitely
small,
need-
you can
if you
break
start
in.
small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can still break in.
yeah.
For sure. And honestly though, and I feel the way you do about it, and that's why I do it that way. But the reality of it is, if I wanted to make money, I would sell everything I have. I'd buy a bunch of ball pythons of different morphs that are currently on the, not ones that are on the that are right
Top of
now
top.
super hot, but ones that you can see are gonna eventually be hot, and go after that. And I would make more money doing that than I do, maybe with the exception of the skinks, because the skinks kind of had that ball python thing going, and we're like, you know, we have basically almost all the mutations available, and then some that like we just proved out a new one, so now we have new
Yeah.
stuff. So in that, and because that has an investor kind of market behind it, it's a little different. So that, I mean, honestly, for us, if we just did them, we would be fine, and then we wouldn't have all these, like all the other projects we have. They cost a lot of money to maintain, and sometimes they do well, and sometimes they They don't, and then they're hard to sell. A lot of that stuff, like ball pythons, you can even though that market is totally saturated, it appears anyway. They're all still making money. Like maybe the people that didn't invest wisely, like, you know, there's
Bought a bunch of Mojave and banana projects.
yeah. Well,
I did not relax.
Honestly,
I mean, Ron did look at you when he said.
Honestly, no. Honestly, if you look at the guys that have done really well in ball pythons, they're all guys that specialize in just like Ozzy did the orange dream thing, and then his whole thing is around that. Then you have Kabilka that has, you know, his kind of that whole I don't understand all that stuff that those guys do, but it's clear he went a direction very specific, targeted. That the guys that cast people that do
Rando.
Yeah, that try to do everything. I've had this problem myself in the past. I would get into something and try to get all the morphs. Like one time I decided fat-tailed geckos were a good idea, so I bought every fucking fat-tailed gecko, and then I'm looking at it going, what the hell do I have? And it was just, so eventually I canceled it because it was just overwhelming, and then there was no direction, so.
Yeah.
You know.
Like Eddie's geckos.
But it's doable. And you have to have one thing.
geckos.
You always have to have one thing that you can sell easily. Like
Yeah.
that's why we do bearded dragons.
Yeah.
Bearded dragons fulfill that. We can always sell bearded dragons. You know, we can sell them wholesale. We can sell them retail. They always sell. Doesn't matter how many are on the market.
That's why I have Blue-Eyed Lucy projects to feed the animals for the whole year.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's funny you say that. I bought some blue eyes for a show one time.
Yeah.
And I sold every single one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they sell.
Full-
Those
full
are pet
price.
snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The show wasn't even over yet.
Crazy.
Yeah.
We could have shows with carpet pythons, blood pythons.
Well,
emerald
that's how it
tree
used to
boas,
be.
This was
and we'd
all like
have
random mom and
all
pop
balls.
people. It was all soccer moms.
That's
I was
how
selling
it
to.
used to be, though. Yeah, that's why when I
sounds beautiful.
said we went backwards, that's really what I'm talking about. Like I used to go to Orlando, or it was Daytona, but it was in Orlando at the time, and it was
Twin Towers.
You know, it would take me forever to walk through there because every table had something
Yep.
different or
Yep.
cool. Whereas now I go to Tinley twice a year because Heather and I vended that show. And I just kind of walk down the aisle, ignoring everything that I see that's ball pythons. And
Yeah.
I'll see some weird little table with a couple deli cups, and I'm like, oh, let me check that out.
Yeah.
That's
So-
his table.
Deli cups.
Before
conception
we finish up here, I do want to know more about this bubblegum blue tongue.
Yeah, so Mike Barrera at Snakes of Sunset imported two. They were sold to him as albinos in Indonesia. When he got them in, he was like, well, I don't know what these are. They're weird. They have white snouts.
Yeah.
That look like they chewed bubble gum and it popped.
Yeah.
And they're very. They have a serious reduction in black pigment, and then they have an overall like a purple haze over top of them. So they're.
Okay.
I feel like they're a type of hypomelanism, but they're different than all the other ones. So there were two of them, and it happened to be, luckily for us, it was a pair. So we bought them from him last year, and then bred them together, and out popped 100% of the clutch has the bubblegum feature.
Yeah.
And then two of them are more radical than the other ones, so we're not sure whether we're looking at
Supers or something.
variability
Yeah.
or supers.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. We went from having 2 to now we have 7. So obviously we're holding all those back.
Of
and-
course.
And by the way, the pictures that he posted,
They
they
will not
don't
do
do zero
Yeah.
justice.
That's the thing about blue tongues is that they're not photogenic.
No,
It never comes out.
it's hard to get the shine
Yeah.
color. And these are particularly because I mean they look like they are wrapped in a purple haze.
Yeah.
And it just no matter what we do with the photos, it doesn't come out. It's aggravating. But anyway, we're not selling them or anything, so we're just gonna, we showed them off once, probably won't show them off again for a while, and then next year we'll plug some of them into other albinos and melanistics and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, and then we still have that. We have a bunch of stuff. I mean, we're patternless and ivories and. So yeah, I think in another 2 years we'll actually have like Australian level combos.
Hell
That's
yeah.
crazy.
So yeah, it's a snowball. It's rolling downhill pretty quick.
Hell
So.
yeah. Well, this was it. This was the Reptiles with Podcast.
I didn't even make it.